Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Eloise. I hope everyone is doing well. So today we're going to do some fragrance sampling. I have 6 samples here that I've been testing over the last few months. So while they're not first impressions, they're not in-depth reviews of the fragrances. I've tested them on skin. I'm familiar with what they smell like. And these are all fragrances that I ordered samples of specifically because I myself was interested in them. And of the 6, I think 2 are possible wish list fragrances. So let's dive in. So the first one is a Naomi Gooder fragrance and it's called Eau de Serail. So this is supposed to be a honeyed tobacco fragrance. There's a lot going on here. There are so many different notes. The nose behind this is Bertrand Duchefort. What I will say about this is that you really have to like a fruity fragrance to appreciate and enjoy this. This opens up really juicy, fruity, tropical, a little tart. There's something a little green about it, and I can sense the coconut. And it also feels sweet from honey, like a sticky golden honey, but the fruit is really strong and juicy. There's mango, berries, apple, rum, coconut, mate, geranium, sage. There's a lot going on here. I get the coconut, I get that honey. It gets sweet, a little bit floral. When I tested this on skin, I will say that after about a half hour, it starts to dry down a little powdery and vanillic. It's still a fruity fragrance through and through, even through the dry down, but maybe not as bright and in your face as when it first opens up. But I will say the tobacco in here and the rum note in terms of boozy or tobacco aspect of this fragrance, you have to search for it. This is dominated by the fruits. It's predominantly a fruity, tropical, juicy mango fragrance. And I think it's got that tartness from the apple. And it's a little too sweet for my liking. I think sweetness is coming from honey and also vanilla. I do, as it dries down, kind of get a little bit of tobacco in the background. It's really subtle. Any tobacco that comes through after this starts to dry down is really subtle and in the background. So, and when you hear tobacco fragrance, I don't know what you guys think. I think something a little more bold and smoky and a little darker, but the fruits are so juicy and bright. But if you like fruity fragrances, this is really nice. I personally don't like fruity fragrances, so this is not something that I would buy for myself. But if you like fruity fragrances, Naomi Gooder is a great house. I love a lot of their fragrances, actually. This is interesting. I think a lot of people like this. I could be wrong. But if you're thinking that this is going to be something with a prominent tobacco or rum note, because there is a rum note in here, it's not. It's just really fruity. It's a little too sweet for me. Yeah, so that's Eau de Serail by Naomi Gooder. So the next one is Andy Tauer's Heraud. Is that how you say it? So this one I ordered because I was in search of, and still am, I like fragrances that have a predominant cacao note, but I haven't really found anything, I don't think. So this one I found interesting. To me, this opens up with this milk chocolatey, because the chocolate in here, to me, never comes off as dark. It comes off very lactonic and milky. So it's a milk chocolate. Like right off the bat, the chocolate's not a deep, dark type of cacao. It's milky. And it's not only lactonic, but I find it very sour. So to me, it was really off-putting, like right from the beginning, because I get this sour, lactonic, chocolatey type of smell that I found a little off-putting. And I get the sweetness coming from warmer notes, not a synthetic juvenile vanilla. And I think Andy Tauer fragrances kind of have that warm sweetness, maybe from tonka beans. It's a bit intense. I find the fragrance a bit too sweet, and I find the chocolate a bit too lactonic and sour almost. It's really not what I expected. So as it starts to dry down, I feel like I get the woody notes in here, and it gets a tad less sweet. but the chocolate component is still a little sour and it's still a little bit too lactonic for my taste. And when it fully dries down on my skin, it turns into a woody chocolate fragrance that loses that sourness, like that lactonic sourness, but the chocolate is still a bit too sweet and a bit too milky, in my mind at least. It's not a dark cacao chocolate. It's milky and like a light chocolate to me. So I'm not really a fan of this one. But if you like the idea of something milky and lactonic, you might want to try this out. So this is Andy Tauer's Heraud. So the next one is from the house of Thameen, London, and this one is Regent Leather. So I've been on a leather fragrance kick lately. I have some leather fragrances, but most of them I feel like leather is in the name, but leather is not in the actual juice. And a lot of these fragrances are called leather fragrances, and there's a hint of suede or maybe some saffron, and it's hard to really know what's going to smell like leather. So I placed an order for Chanel Cuir de Russie. I treated myself. So that's on the way from Selfridges in London. So I'm looking forward to that. A total blind buy, and maybe I'll do an unboxing and I'll smell it on video with you guys. So Regent Leather. So I could see how people would like this fragrance. This opens up with this citrusy, fruity note to it. And I immediately get what I would consider not a leather feel, but like a suede texture to the fragrance. But what I find interesting is that that sort of goes away, which is unfortunate because I was expecting a leather fragrance. And what I do get from this is a fruity, floral, sweet fragrance that has some aromatic touches from cardamom, and there's the saffron. So there's no leather note, so I guess the leather texture or the leather component is supposed to come from the saffron in this fragrance. So you're not gonna get a fragrance that really feels like leather. This is more, to my nose, this is more fruity and sweet. So that's the way it smells to me. I did not look at the notes until after I tested this a few times. There is not a fruity note in here. So I think what this is the interplay between the citrus and maybe the jasmine in here, because there is jasmine. So I think that lemon and the jasmine together with the aromatic component of the cardamom maybe comes off like a fruity, sweet fragrance to me. There's just not enough leather. And I will say that when this dries down, it is less sweet and it is less fruity, floral, and bright. But what you end up with is, in my opinion, a cardamom suede-like fragrance, very subtle, like cardamom and like a subtle suede texture. That's what this dries down to. So I think it's well made. I think it's well blended. I think it's smooth. I think a lot of people would like this. I personally find it a little too sweet, and it comes off fruity. I don't like sweet, fruity fragrances. So to me, whether it's jasmine or whether it's coming from lemon and jasmine, the bottom line is, to me, this smells fruity, sweet, and a little floral, and there's just not enough leather. And so if I was looking for that profile in a fragrance, I probably wouldn't be looking for something that's called Regent Leather. So it wasn't what I was expecting, but it is a nicely constructed, smooth fragrance. So I can objectively say that I think it is well done. So I would prefer Blue Heart over this. I have Blue Heart by Thameen, and that's more of an orris, iris, suede-like fragrance that's earthy. And it has that suede component, and it has a coconut note, but it's not a sweet coconut. It's like a powdery, earthy fragrance that feels suede in texture. So I would prefer that over this one because it doesn't have that sweetness and the fruity aspect and that floral brightness to it. So yeah, this is Regent Leather by Thameen, London. So the next one is another leather fragrance, or so-called leather. This is BDK's Vanille Leather. So as soon as I put my nose on this, I thought Amouage Love Tuberose, which I have a decant of and I included in one of my Amouage videos. This does not smell like leather at all. This smells like a floral, powdery, at most, suede, like a suede texture, kind of, sort of, if you look for it. I mean, Love Tuberose is a floral fragrance. It's really, really creamy. So I'm not saying that this one is exactly like that. This does have a hint of suede. It's a stretch. It's a stretch in my opinion, but maybe a hint of suede. To me, this is mostly a powdery, sweet, floral fragrance. Very soft, very pretty. Not something that I'm interested in, but it's a pretty fragrance. I said the same thing about Love Tuberose by Amouage. Very pretty, very delicate, very powdery. There's violet and iris in here, so violet tends to go powdery together with the iris, so that accounts for why this is so powdery. And there's tuberose, jasmine, orange blossom, which accounts for the florals. And there's vanilla, patchouli, oak wood, leather, not so much, not so much. Violet, iris, floral, vanilla, that's what this is all about. So if you want something powdery, sweet, delicate, that's what you would get here. BDK's Vanille Leather. So the next one is Ombre Precieux by Maitre Parfum et Gantier. I know I didn't say that correctly, but in any case. So I've been on an amber kick lately, and I've added some really great ambers to my collection. So a video on ambers is coming soon. This one I really, really like. Sebastian talked a lot about this fragrance on his channel, so much that I ended up ordering a sample. I really like it. And the official website is actually having a Black Friday sale, so I'm considering getting this one and maybe a decant of one of their other amber fragrances. I think there are a few, I'm not sure if they're flankers or just different versions of Ombre Precieux, but I think Sebastian mentioned that Ombre Precieux is the original one, and they came out with a flanker that would be the stronger version. But I ordered a sample of this one, and I really, really like it. It could be a little masculine because it gets aromatic. I'm not sure if there's lavender in here. Yes, there's myrtle, there's lavender, coumarin, vanilla, nutmeg, cistus, Peru balsam, tolu, and ambergris. So I usually stay away from aromatic fragrances with notes like lavender because to my nose it feels a little like barbershop-y, or it kind of gives me the vibe of a man's aftershave and it comes off masculine. I'm not sure why, but that's what I associate with that type of fragrance. And it made me hesitant to purchase Grand Soir by MFK, but I did end up getting a bottle of that and I'm loving it. And I really like this because this take on amber is a powdery take, and I have a lot of different amber fragrances that do different things with the amber. It takes amber into different directions, like vanillic, like material, or Le Lion, which is more like leathery and incensey and dark. And then there's Grand Soir, which is vanillic, but not too sweet, and a little aromatic. This one is aromatic and a little sweet, but it's powdery. It's really powdery, and it dries down to this really clean ambery fragrance. So I'm into these very clean fragrances that are almost powdery. I really like that, like Suavissima by Profumum Roma. There's that one. There's Armani Privé's Musc Majal, Musc something, that gets very powdery, but it's musky. So this one is ambery and dries down to this powdery amber, and it's warm. So I would really like to smell this on a man. Actually, I think it would smell so beautiful and clean. But I like this for myself, and I'm considering a full bottle of this. It's not too sweet, but it definitely has a sweetness. It's resinous, it's balsamic, and it's aromatic. The aromatic aspect, I feel, in the dry down kind of subsides, and it's the powdery amber that I like at the end. There's no funkiness from cumin. It's really beautiful. I like this a lot. So I'm thinking of getting a full bottle of this one. Yep, so this is Ombre Precieux. And next is another Naomi Gooder, and this is Iris Cendre. I really like this one. I love iris fragrances. This one has a very rooty iris. It's a little lipsticky in the opening to my nose, but I think that lipsticky aspect goes away as it dries down. What's nice about this is that it's so smooth, it's so round, it's so buttery. There are no jagged edges, so to speak, like in terms of texture, very buttery, round, smooth, earthy iris. I feel like this is really well made, and the fragrance comes off like it has depth to it. I can see behind the iris, and that iris is so earthy but yet rooty, and it almost seems like there's something like a little smoky in the background, but it never gets dark. It's not a dark fragrance whatsoever. It really has a very white aspect to it, like clean, ethereal, relaxing to my nose. I feel like even though this is very delicate, that it has depth to it. There's tobacco, there's incense, there's an amber aspect to the fragrance, but they never come to the forefront. So I feel like the fragrance retains a very delicate aspect. There's iris, there's violet. They tend to go powdery. And to me, this dries down as an iris suede-like fragrance, almost like an iris leather fragrance, but nothing bold, not a bold leather fragrance. It's a buttery iris is what it is, with depth, a little smokiness, the tobacco in the background. Nothing hefty, nothing dark. I like this one. I would consider a bottle of this. So this is Naomi Gooder's Iris Cendre. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me as I tested these 6 fragrances. I have a few other videos coming out with some other fragrances that I've been testing. Let me know in the comments whether you've smelled these and you have an opinion on any of these fragrances. And until next time, bye guys.